Radhar, Shivasadi Gaur Bhaktavrinda. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare. Text 25 today. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya.
Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya.
Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya.
Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya.
Namah Kamala Nabhaya.
Namah Kamala Nabhaya.
Namah Kamala Maline.
Namah Kamala Nabhaya.
Namah Kamala Padaya.
Namah Kamala Padaya.
Namaste Kamalakshana. Kamalekshana.
Namaste Kamalekshana.
Yes. Someone like to read?
Read, Prabhu.
Yes, please.
Translation Prabhupada by Divine Grace from Prabhupada. Translation. Dear Lord, we offer our respectful obeisances unto you, because from your abdomen flows a lotus flower, the origin of all living entities. You are always decorated with a lotus garland, and your feet resemble the lotus flower with all its fragrance. Your eyes are also like the petals of a lotus flower. Therefore, we always offer our respectful obeisances unto you. Purport. The word Kamala Nabhaya indicates Lord Vishnu's origin of all material creation. From the abdomen of Garbhodaya Kshaya Vishnu, the lotus flower sprouts. Lord Brahma, the first creature of the universe, is born from this lotus flower. And subsequently, Lord Brahma creates the whole universe. The origin of all creation is therefore Lord Vishnu. And the origin of all Vishnu Tattvas is Lord Krishna. Consequently, Krishna is the origin of everything. It is also confirmed in the Bhagavad Gita 10.8. Aham sarvasya prabhavo mattaha sarvam pravartate iti matva bhajante mam buddha bhava samanvitaha. I am the source of all spiritual and material worlds. Everything emanates from me. The wise who perfectly know this engage in my devotional service and worship me with all their hearts. Lord Krishna says, I am the origin of everything, and therefore whatever we see emanates from him. This is also confirmed in the Vedanta Sutra. Tanmadi asya yataha. The absolute truth is he from whom everything emanates. Hare Krishna.
So, Lord Vishnu is the origin of all. Kamala Nabhaya. From Lord Vishnu originates Brahma, and Brahma creates this universe. So, that's why Lord Brahma is called the secondary creator. The primary creator is Lord Vishnu only. You know, just like the architect, he designs the whole building. Then the civil engineers will come and put the beams and everything. But if the architect doesn't give a plan and a design, the engineer won't create anything. So just like that, Lord Vishnu is the primary creator. Everything comes from him. And the secondary creators take on from there. So, Janmadi Asyayata. So everything comes from. So Lord is saying, Janma. So in the Srimad Bhagavatam, first 1.1.1 we have seen Janmadi Asyayata. Everything emanates from the Supreme. So the Supreme Lord Vishnu is the origin of everything. Everything else that we see then, Lord Brahma, Lord Shiva, everyone is secondary. Now the context of this particular verse is the previous verse. In the previous verse, we had talked about the Guna avatars. We had talked about Vishnu, Shiva, and Brahma. But now here we are establishing who's the primary amongst them. So Lord Vishnu, even though he appears to be Lord Vishnu appears to be one of the Trinity, he appears to be a Guna avatar, but actually he is the Supreme. He is beyond the concept of primary and secondary. He is transcendental. So even though he has taken up the role of Sattva Guna avatar, he is still not an avatar. He is the Supreme Personality himself. So he's not like, so we see Lord like Lord Brahma is an expansion of the Lord who is an Ansh of the Lord. He's an Ansh avatar. Or Lord Shiva, for example. Lord Shiva is a Guna avatar. And he's permanently transformed. But Lord Vishnu remains the original personality of Godhead, taking care of the mode of goodness. Hare Krishna. Yes, any question or comment? Continue. Namah Kamala Kinjalka
नमः कमल किंजल का
Pishangama Malavivasase
Vishangamala Vasase
Sarva Bhuta Nivasaya
सर्वभूत
Bhuta
निवासाय
Nivasaya
Namo Yungshmahi Sakshine.
नमो युष्ण स्महि
Mahi
साक्षणे.
Sakshini.
Can I read, Guruji?
Yes, please.
Dear Lord, the garment you have put on is yellowish in color, like the saffron of a lotus flower, but it is not made of anything material. Since you live in everyone's heart, you are the direct witness of all the activities of all living entities. We offer our respectful obeisances unto you again and again. Purport by Srivastava. In this verse, the dress of the Supreme Personality of Godhead and his all pervasive nature are described. The Lord puts on a dress that is yellow, but such a garment is never to be considered material. The garment of the Lord are also the Lord. They are non-different from the Lord because they are spiritual in nature. The word Sarva Bhuta Nivasaya further clarified how Lord Vishnu lives in everyone's heart and acts as the direct witness of all the activities of the conditioned soul. Within this material world, the conditioned soul has desire and act in accordance with these desires. All these acts are observed by the Supreme Personality of Godhead. This is also confirmed in Bhagavad Gita 15.15. Sarvasya chamam hridi sanvisto mahata smritir janam apohanam cha. I am seated in everyone's heart, and from me come remembrance, knowledge, and forgetfulness. The Lord is present in everyone's heart, and he gives the living entity intelligence. According to the desire of living entity, the Lord makes him remember or forget. If the living entity is a demonic and wants to forget the Supreme Personality of Godhead, the Lord give him the intelligence to be able to forget the Supreme Lord forever. Similarly, when a devotee wants to serve the Supreme Lord, the Lord as a Paramatma give the devotee the intelligence to make a progress in the devotional service. The Lord directly witness our activities and experience our desire. The Supreme Lord give us the facilities to act in the way we wish. Hare Krishna. If some mistake, please pardon.
No problem. Thank you. Since you live in everyone's heart, you are the direct witness of all the activities of all living entities. We offer our respectful obeisances unto you again and again. So Krishna, actually he makes two statements in Bhagavad Gita. Mameva ansha jivaloke jivabhut sanatana. Mana shashtani indriyani prakriti sthani karshati. So all the living entities are my parts and parcels, and situated within the material energy, they are struggling. So Mana shashtani, they're struggling with the six senses, including the mind. Mana shashtani indriyani prakriti sthani karshati, within this material nature. So they are struggling with this material nature. Now, also the other statement he says is Sarvasya chaham hridi sannivishto. So he says Mayavansh, the living entities are my parts and parcels, and I am residing in their hearts. So see, of course, where is the heart of the living entity? The physical heart is just a lump of flesh, blood, and muscles. But the real heart of the living entity is the heart of the soul. The Lord is residing there. Sarvasya. So Krishna also says in the 18th chapter of Bhagavad Gita, Ishvara Sarva Bhutanam Hriddeshe Arjuna Tishtati. So The Lord is situated in the heart of all living entities. So he's directing the movement of all the living entities. Bhramayani sarva bhutani yantra arudhani maya. On an instrument made of maya, made of illusory energy, the living entity is just is wandering here and there, and the Lord is directing that wandering. So that is something which is being explained here. So we may think we are independent, we are so smart, we are so this and that, but everything is actually coming from Lord. Krishna is giving everything. Mattaha smritir jnanam apohanam cha. So if someone wants to become an engineer, the Lord gives that inspiration. Someone wants to become a cannibal, the Lord gives that inspiration also. So if it is like someone may ask, that now, like Christians have this dilemma all the time. That why if God is all good, then why is there evil in this world? If God creates everything, then evil also must be created by God. So yes, that is all completely fine, and that is all completely true also. So the good and evil in this world is both created by the Lord, and it's completely, and there is no contradiction. It is completely explainable. The good and evil is just a perception based out of one's own mental concoctions. In this material world of duality, Dvaite Bhadra Bhadra Jnana Sava Manodharma. Everything is just an illusion. So let's give this example. For example, someone has a child and the child dies. Now the mother and father, they're distraught. Oh, this is so bad, this is so evil. But suppose the child doesn't die. The brilliant Pandit, Pandit Shastri, great soul. So what will happen? The parents will die. In any case, death will come. So what is good or what is bad in this world? Everything is temporary. So the good is temporary, the bad is temporary. But good and bad are just perceptions created out of mind. Here in the West, Christians particularly love to eat this bird, turkey. They love to eat it during Christmas times. And they celebrate, oh, today is a good day. But it is not such a good day for the bird who's killed. So one man's good is another man's bad. Stock market, our devotees love to invest in stock market, and they preach also about it. So what is stock market really? You are winning, but someone else has to lose. Your money is not growing automatically. Your investments are not growing out of some magic. They are growing because someone else is losing. You make 10 rupees on your stock purchase of 5 rupees. Then someone else has lost that 10 rupees, so you are winning it. So that's why it's gambling. So there is no good. So a devotee may delude himself thinking that stock market is good for him, but it is bad for somebody else. So it's still the same duality. So there is no good or bad. Everything comes from the Lord. If the living entity wants to forget the Lord makes him forget. So even a cannibal. So Krishna will create a situation in such a way that the cannibal starts liking the flesh of human beings. And Krishna will arrange those human beings who have this karma to be eaten up alive in such a way that the cannibal is satisfied and the sinful man's karma is also vanquished. So that is Lord's greatness. That is Lord's brilliance. So he's the witness of all the activities of all living entities. He's the one who inspires birds to find seeds on the forest floor. He's the one who inspires the tiger to find the deer to eat. He's the one who inspires the deer to find grass to eat. In this way, the Lord is directing Brahmayami sarva bhutani yatra arudhani maya. It is guiding the movements of all the living entities within this material world. Hare Krishna. Is there any questions or comments?
Hare Krishna. There is about this that Lord can also give forgetfulness for the demons, that then they won't remember him ever after that. So how about then, like Lord Chaitanya's mercy, then that can still break this, or how is it then? Or it's just like the demon will be ignorant no matter what you do. Because he doesn't want to remember Krishna.
So Mahaprabhu does not come to force anyone. Mahaprabhu has not come here to make everyone a devotee. Mahaprabhu has come here to give the holy name. You know, so only yajanti hi sumedasha. Krishna varnam tusha krishnam sangopangasta parshadam yajna sankirtana praya yajanti hi sumedasha. Mahaprabhu is also not forcing anyone. No one, Mahaprabhu, Lord is never forcing anyone. He says, Yathechasi tatha kuru, your wish. He will create an easy facility. Here, you can't take the difficult task, you take the easy one. But still, he will not force anyone. So the Lord just comes, he says, okay, here, this is, take this. If you can't take that, if you can't take Bhagavad Gita, you take Harinam. Just chant. But Lord is not forcing anyone. He will not make anyone chant. He will just give the holy name. Yajati sumedasha. Those who are intelligent, they will take it. Yeah. So we continue. Text 27. Rupam Bhagavata Tvetat
Rupam Bhagavata Tvetvat
Ashesha Klesha Sankshayam
Akshesha Klesha Sangshayam
Avishkritam Nah Klishtanam
Avishkrutam Nah Krishtanam
Kim Anyat Anukampitam.
Kim Anyat Anukampitam.
Yes. Someone like to read?
Can I continue, Guruji?
Yes, please.
Dear Lord, we conditioned soul are always covered by ignorance in the bodily conception of life. We therefore always prefer the miserable condition of material existence. To deliver us from these miserable conditions, you have advented yourself in this transcendental form. This is evidence of your unlimited causeless mercy upon those of us who are suffering in this way. Then what to speak of the devotee to whom you are always so favorable disposed? Purport by Shilbhat Kije. When the Lord appears in his original form, he acts to deliver the pious and annihilate the miscreants. Although he annihilates the demons, he nonetheless benefits them. It is said that all living entities who died on the battlefield of Kurukshetra attained their original constitutional position, Swarupa, because they had the chance to see Krishna face to face riding in the chariot of Arjuna on the battlefield of Kurukshetra. Superficially, two things were going on. The demons were being killed and the devotee, Arjun, was being protected. However, the result were the same for everyone. Thus, it is said that appearance of the Lord diminishes all kind of miserable conditions caused by the material existence. It is clearly stated in this verse that this form, Ashesha Klesha Sankarshayam, is meant to diminish all the miserable conditions experienced in the life, not only by the devotee but by all others. Avishkartam na kalishta nam. The Prasads identified themselves as a common man. Kim anyat anukampitam. The devotee are always favorable, accepted by the Lord. The Lord shows all mercy, not only conditioned soul, but also to devotee who are already liberated due to their devotional services. The form of Lord as worship in the temples is called Archa Vigraha or Archavatra, the worshipable form, the deity incarnation. This facility is offered to neophyte devotees so that they can see the real form of Lord face to face and offer their respectful obeisances and sacrifice in the form of archa. Through such facilities, The neophyte gradually invoke their original Krishna consciousness. Deity worship in the form of temple worship is the most valuable benediction given by the Lord to beginners. All neophytes must therefore engage in the worship of Lord by keeping the Archa Vigraha at home or in the temple. Hare Krishna. Thank you so much, Prabhuji.
Krishna, thank you very much. So, dear Lord, we conditioned souls are always covered by ignorance in the bodily conception of life. We therefore always prefer the miserable conditions of material existence. To deliver us from these miserable conditions, you have advented yourself in this transcendental form. This is evidence of your unlimited causeless mercy upon those of us who are suffering in this way. What then to speak of the devotees to whom you are always so favorably disposed? See, paritranaya sadhunam vinashaya cha dushkritam dharma samsthapanarthaya sambhavami yuge yuge. We have read that yesterday also. So this is how Krishna is. This is Krishna's disposition. So whether one is a miscreant or whether one is pious, the result is the same after coming in contact with Krishna. Now, one important point here to be considered is, so what is the difference? Why should I be a good person if Krishna is anyway going to deliver everyone? So point is, first of all, you may not be significant enough to be delivered by Krishna. One has to be a significant demon like Kans to be killed by Krishna. If one is not a significant enough demon, one will be vanquished by material nature. In fact, generally demons are vanquished by material nature. But other thing is, the Lord purifies the living entity completely. And that's it. The Lord purifies the living entity and keeps him at that. Prema, love, Krishna will not give. So Krishna, like Srila Prabhupada, when he was talking to Upendra Prabhu in, I think it was San Francisco. So he was talking, Yeah, Prabhupada was talking to Upendra Prabhu. So at that time, Upendra Prabhu asked Prabhupada, he said, Prabhupada, what do you think about love? Prabhupada said, there is no love in this material world. So he said, but what a man feels for a woman, that is undeniable. Prabhupada said that that's just a bodily misconception. Then he got up and said, you pick up any girl and I'll get you married. So that you can get in this world. But if you want Krishna, that is not so easy. So getting Krishna is not easy at all. So Krishna Prem is very difficult to attain. Not because Krishna is unwilling to give it. The problem is that we are not willing to take it. In this material world, there are so many things that attract us. So something as noble as the love of a son for his mother, even that can become the cause of bondage in this material world. Because that will distract one from looking at Krishna. So therefore we can understand this material world is such a difficult place. Iha sansare bahu dushtare, kripya pare pahi murare. This material world is a very difficult place. It's not easy. So this material world is not an easy place to be. So you see, so if this is the condition, then one should understand that when the Lord delivers, the demon and the devotee, they're both purified. They're put on the platform of Brahma Bhuta, liberation. From there on, one has to decide what one wants. Therefore, demonic souls, they will stay within the material world. Like Prabhupada says, even if there is a 1% attraction to material world, that will keep you here. Something as insignificant as being attracted to even knowledge, even that will keep us back in this material world. Therefore, it's very difficult. So in this material world, Lord appears in so many forms. So like, for example, Prabhupada is talking about the Archa Vigraha or Archavatar. So this is the form of the Lord which is worshipable. The deity form of the Lord. So by worshipping the deity, gradually one develops feeling for Lord. One will gradually come to the platform of loving the Lord. Archa. So that is also, so Lord incarnates in so many forms. Then he incarnates as the scriptures. Shabda Brahma. He incarnates. Jiva Maya Mugdha Jiva Nahi Swata Krishna Gyan Jivera Kripaya Kaila Krishna Veda Purana. So just to show his mercy on the living entities, Krishna incarnates as scriptures also. And then he incarnates as the demigods to gradually guide the conditioned souls. He incarnates in so many ways. The difficulty is that the living entity who's in a conditioned state is not able to either identify or appreciate the Supreme Lord and His mercy. Hare Krishna. Is any questions or comments? Video text 28. Etavat tvam hi vibhudir bhavyam dineshu dineshu vatsalay yad anusmaryate kale स्वबुद्ध्या भद्ररंधन. Yes, would someone like to read?
Anil Prabhu. Translation and purport by His Divine Grace from Prabhupada. Translation. Dear Lord, as a killer of all inauspicious things, you are compassionate upon your poor devotees through the expansion of your Archa Vigraha. You should certainly think of us as your eternal servants. Purport. The form of the Lord, known as Archa Vigraha, is an expansion of his unlimited potencies. When the Lord is gradually satisfied with the service of a devotee, in due course of time, he accepts the devotee as one of his many unalloyed servants. By nature, the Lord is very compassionate. Therefore, the service of a neophyte devotee is accepted by the Lord, as confirmed in Bhagavad Gita 9.26. Patram pushpam phalam toyam yomya bhaktya prayachati tad aham bhakti upahritam asnami prayatmanaha. If one offers me with love, a devotion, a leaf, a flower, a fruit, or water, I'll accept it. The devotee offers eatables in the form of vegetables, fruits, leaves, and water to the Archa Vigraha. Lord, being Bhakta Vatsala, compassionate upon his devotees, accepts these offerings. Atheists may think that the devotees are engaged in idol worship. But the fact is different. Janardana, the Supreme Lord, accepts bhava, that attitude of service. A neophyte devotee engaged in the worship of the Lord may not understand the value of such worship, but the Supreme Lord, being Bhakta Vatsala, accepts his devotee and in due course of time takes him home. In this connection, there is a story about a Brahmana who was offering sweet rice to the Lord within his mind. Brahmana had no money nor any means of worshipping the deity, but within his mind he arranged everything very nicely. He had gold pots to bring water from sacred rivers to wash the deity. He offered the deity very sumptuous food, including sweet rice. Once, before he offered the sweet rice, he thought it was too hot. Oh no, let me test it. It is very hot. He put his finger in the sweet rice to test it, and his finger was burned, and his meditation broken. Although he was offering food to the Lord within his mind, the Lord accepts it nonetheless. Consequently, the Lord in Vaikuntha immediately sent a chariot to bring the Brahmana back home, back to Godhead. Thus, it is a duty of every sincere devotee to accept the Archa Vigraha at home or in the temple and worship the form of the Lord as advised in authorized scriptures and directed by the spiritual master. Hare Krishna. Hare Krishna, Prabhu.
Hare Krishna, sorry. Yeah. So the Lord incarnates in many forms. So you are compassionate upon your poor devotees through the expansion of your Archa Vigraha. You should certainly think of us as your eternal servants. So Lord incarnates in many forms. So he incarnates as the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Lord Chaitanya, Lord Krishna, he incarnates, he appears that way. Then he incarnates as the literary form, Shabda Brahma, the scriptures. He incarnates as the spiritual master, Sri Guru, so servitor personality of God. Then he incarnates as the Archavatar, Archa Vigrah or Archavatar, the deity form. So all these forms are to guide us in different aspects of understanding the Lord. So for example, through Shabda Brahma, through the scriptural incarnation, we get knowledge about the Lord. Through the spiritual master, we get the guidance. As Cheta Guru or as Paramatma within the heart, the Lord guides us from within as our superconscience or our conscience or superconsciousness. He guides us from within, from without as a spiritual master, Shri Guru, in the form of instructions. Then as Archa Vigrah, he gives us an opportunity to relate to him, to associate with him. So all these forms of the Supreme Lord are here just for us, just for our purification. Even for those who are too fallen, like Srila Prabhupada would say that Christianity, for example, is a religion for meat eaters. So now, under normal circumstances, a meat eater is considered outcast, Chandal. But the Lord is so merciful that he doesn't even want to leave them in this material world. So even there, he incarnates in some form of religion or the other. So somehow or the other, he brings about this reverence so that the living entity can re-establish his memory. Nashto moha smritir labdva tat prasadat mayachyuta. Arjuna is saying, by your mercy. And how is that established? By hearing the Bhagavad Gita. Nashto moha smritir labdha tat prasadat mayachyuta sthitosmi gata sandeha karishye vachanam tava. So when our memory is regained by hearing the scriptures, karishye vachanam tava, then we have to follow the instructions of the Lord. Or as Srila Prabhupada explains, that if you love God and you don't do anything, then that is called meditation. But if you love God and you obey his instructions, that is considered real love. So many times, like Prabhupada also used to say that so many devotees will come and say, oh, Prabhuji, oh, Maharaj, I really love you, I really respect you, but they'll not follow any instructions. So that kind of a love has no meaning. That respect is meaningless. Because if the instructions of the spiritual master are not to be followed, then so-called love and respect for spiritual master have no meaning. So therefore, by simply accepting the spiritual master, by simply accepting the deity form of the Lord, one can actually be delivered from this material world. So he's known as Bhavagrahi Janardhan. So he accepts the bhav, he accepts the feelings, as we see in this example of the story of Brahmana. So when he was offering the sweet rice to the Lord, he was too poor. He had no money or anything, but he was in his mind. He was arranging. In his mind, he was arranging sweet rice for the Lord, and in his mind, his hand got burned, but it was actually burnt because the Lord had accepted his worship. So we see it is the consciousness, it is the mood behind the worship, which is more important than the actual activity of the worship itself. Hare Krishna.
Was this first time that he did like many times, and it's a sweet rice, and it's always something was wrong?
No, last time he just wanted to test
Okay.
how hot is this,
Okay.
because it was just freshly cooked. So he put it on his hand, and the hand got burned.
Oh, it was the other one.
Yeah.
Was always.
Yeah. Hare Krishna. Is any questions or comments here? We continue text 29. Yenopashantir bhutana
Yanopashanti bhutanam
kshullakanam apihatam
shullakanam apihatam
antarhito antarhridaye
antarhito antarhridaye
kasman no veda nashishah.
kasmano ved nashisha.
Yeah. Would someone like to read?
Can I read?
Yeah, please go ahead.
Translation. When the Lord, out of his natural compassion, thinks of his devotee, by that process only are all desires of the neophyte devotee fulfilled. The Lord is situated in every living entity's heart, although the living entity may be very insignificant. The Lord knows everything about the living entity, including all his desires. Although we are very insignificant, why should the Lord not know our desires? Purport. A very advanced devotee does not think himself advanced. He is always very humble. The Supreme Personality of Godhead, in his plenary expansion as the Paramatma or Supersoul, sits in everyone's heart and can understand the attitudes and desires of his devotees. The Lord also gives opportunity to the non-devotees to fulfill their desires as confirmed in Bhagavad Gita. Matta smritir jnanam apohanam. Whatever a living entity desires, however insignificant he may be, is noted by the Lord, who gives him a chance to fulfill his desires. If the desires of the non-devotees are fulfilled, why not those of the devotee? A pure devotee simply wants to engage in the service of the Lord without material desire. And if he wants this within the core of his heart, where the Lord is situated, and if he is without ulterior motive, why should the Lord not understand? If a sincere devotee renders service to the Lord or to the Archa Vigraha, the form of the Lord, all his activities prove successful because the Lord is present within the heart and understands his sincerity. Thus, if a devotee with all confidence goes on discharging the prescribed duties of devotional service, he will ultimately attain success. Thank you, Guruji.
Hare Krishna, thank you. See, Mamaeva Ansha Jiva Loke Jiva Bhut Sanatana. All the living entities are parts and parcels of the Lord. So naturally, the Lord knows everything. He's within the heart. Mattah smritir jnanam apohanam chai. He's only giving us the memory. Actually, what do we know? Our knowledge is just the knowledge of the Lord, which is manifesting through us in reality. So, so whatever living entity desires, the Lord is fulfilling. The whole material world is running on the desires of the living entity. The Supreme Lord has got nothing to do in this material world. Krishna is saying, Maya Jakshena Prakriti Suyate Sacharacharam. This is under me. But Lord himself is not directly concerned. In the 8th canto of Srimad Bhagavatam also, Gajendra is praying to the Lord. He says, my dear Lord, you are the controller of the 3 modes of nature, but you are completely, indifferent to the activities of the modes. The Lord is completely indifferent. He doesn't care. It's like a father, he may buy some toys for the child and give it to him. But he's unconcerned about how the child plays with it. So long as the child is playing in a sober manner, the father will not interfere. But if the child starts breaking down the house or he starts hurting himself with that toy, then the father will intervene. But if the child is playing normally, the father is not concerned. Father will not interfere at all. So that's the way how the Lord also works. Paritranaya sadhunam vinashaya cha dushkritam. Or as we read yesterday also, that Indrari Vyakulam Loke, Mrudayanti Yuge. So Indrari Vyakulam Loke. So whenever these demons are creating a disturbance in the order of the universe, the Lord intervenes. For example, in a family, suppose there are 3-4 children, and one child starts beating all the others, then the mother will intervene immediately. Mother or father will intervene immediately. But if the children are living normally, the parents will not intervene at all.
Yeah.
So when the demons create disturbance and they start hurting the other living entities, then the Lord intervenes immediately and he stops them. Vinashaya cha dushkritam. So he annihilates the evil. So Lord immediately understands. So if someone wants the Lord will immediately grant that wish. So Srila Prabhupada says, you can become pure devotee in one moment. Like Krishna says. In Chaitanya Charitamrita also, Lord Chaitanya is mentioning. He says, when the devotee says, oh Lord, I am yours, Krishna accepts him as good as himself. He says, like at the time of initiation, when the living entity surrenders to the Supreme Lord, and he says, oh Lord, I am yours. At that time, Krishna accepts him and delivers him completely. So when we take initiation, that is a mood release, complete surrender to Krishna. Initiation is not a formality. It's not a fashion statement. Oh, now I'm XYZ Das or ABC Dasi. No, that is not the point. You really have become a Das. You surrendered yourself completely to Krishna. And now you should know that Krishna will protect you from material nature. So with that mood, one should surrender. That is the mood of surrender. And in that way, Krishna delivers the living entity. So he is favorable to his devotee. For the demons, he just fulfills their desires. Actually, Krishna is fulfilling the desires of all living entities. Ye yathamam prapadyante tams tathaiva bhajamyaham. So, mama vartaman vartante. Everyone is following my paths. Manushya partha sarvashah. Everyone, always they're following my paths. If someone wants material nature, Krishna fulfills that. So if someone wants material nature and disregards all the laws, then he is considered a demon. If someone desires the material nature, but in accordance with the laws of the Vedas, then he is considered a demigod, Devi. And if someone doesn't want this material world at all, but just wants the Supreme Lord himself, then he is considered transcendental. Hare Krishna. Yes. Any questions or comments?
Hare Krishna, Dandavат Nam.
Yes.
In the previous verse as well as start of the purport, like the stress is being given on rendering service to the Archa Vigraha form of the Lord. So how do we, on a very practical level, understand this aspect? I'm asking you because many times devotees ask, can we bring deities at home? And then the question is like, yes, to some people we may say yes, and some people we may say, please take some more time. So, like, what do our beloved Srila Prabhupada used to tell? At the same time, what should be the procedure by which we can serve Archa Vigraha, the deities of the Lord? So definitely, I can. Should I take it as a little meaning when I'm saying the Archa Vigraha? Matlab they are saying the scriptures are saying deities, right, and not just the photo or laminations.
Actually, a big question, a very practical question. So certainly, everyone should worship the deity.
I'm asking because one more thing is many times our brahmacharis are always recommending, even very devotees who are just able to just somehow set themselves to the initial processes of chanting and reading. They are just begin to set a little bit. They may be chanting 4 rounds or 8 rounds on consistent basis, or they may be just able to read some 15 minutes, half an hour every day. And then immediately they are recommended to, if you bring deities, then that will help you to progress in your spiritual life fast. So this is also being said like that. So that's why I'm asking this very practical question which comes into, and then we are in a situation we have to say yes or no, or suggest accordingly to the situation. Thank you, Prabhu.
Hare Krishna, thank you. So it's a nice question. The point is, Prabhu, deity worship Prabhupada recommends. For Grihasthas, it is deity worship. But there should be standards. Because if standards are not followed, it will be actually detrimental to spiritual life. So deity worship must have some standards. So if we see that Grihastha is not up to that mark, then one should not do that. Deities are Thakur. He is the master of the house. And if we bring him and we mistreat him, then we are committing all sorts of offenses. And then what progress can we make? So it is best to just worship the photographs and continue our reading and preaching. Chanting, reading and preaching. And when you feel confident enough, then you can bring the deities and worship them. Certainly worshipping the deity helps because we are developing a relationship with Krishna. That's the purpose of getting a deity. But if the standards are not high enough, then this will serve no purpose. So you see, so we have to worship the deity, but at the same time, we have to be aware of the standards. So if we are not able to follow, chanting and reading are more important. So you should do that. So here it is being emphasized because here we are talking about a time before Lord Chaitanya. Ours is a preaching mission. Prabhupada did not insist too much on deity worship. Srila Prabhupada was not so keen on deity worship. Srila Prabhupada insisted that preaching, Sankirtan is more important. So we should do Sankirtan more. So if the devotees are not studying the Gita, they are not chanting rounds properly, they are not preaching, then there is no point in worshipping the deity. That we are worshipping the deity, but is the deity accepting our worship? That is also the question. Like Prabhupada says, you may offer bhoga, but is the Lord accepting it? So you see, acceptance from the part of on the part of the Lord is also important. The altar is not a prasad making factory. We just put a plate and then we take it back and then there's prasad. No, it must be offered. Patram pushpam phalam toyam yume bhaktya prayachati. So it must be done with love. You know, Krishna is always expecting love. He's not really hungry for chapatis and sabji. What he wants is love of the devotee. So if that is there, deity worship is successful. If the love is not there, or if the devotee thinks that the deity is a burden, then that worship is not acceptable. Then that's a worship in the mode of ignorance. That is not going to benefit. If one worships deity as a matter of pride, hey, you know, I got this 10 lakh rupee deity from Rajasthan, then that is nonsense. That is Rajoguna. That deity worship is also not acceptable to the Lord. Hare Krishna. Does that answer your question, Prabhu?
Yes, Prabhuji, quite an extent.
Okay, some doubt is still there?
Yeah, that part of the question, like how do we consider ourselves at the right time to go for Archavigraha Seva, whether it be in temple or whether it be at our home?
Okay, so when we see that the cleanliness and discipline standards are high, when we see that a person has sufficient faith in the Lord, his consciousness is pure. Not that the person goes out and behaves like a truck driver and then comes home and tries to worship deity. No, when we see that the person is a gentleman, he's disciplined, he's clean, his family has enough faith, then we recommend the deities. Imagine you have a child and someone says, please send your child to my house. Will you send the child just like that? Suppose the man is dirty, they don't eat properly, they are always speaking rude language. Will you send your child there? Then why would you recommend deities to a house which doesn't have proper standard? So you see, so we have to understand that deities are like children. Only difference is these children own the building. So you see, so we must understand whether the party to whom we are recommending this deity worship, are they capable of doing it or not? If not, then we should not do it. Srila Prabhupada's wife was not a very nice devotee. So Srila Prabhupada never worshipped deities at home. He was worshipping laminations. Prabhupada says, you know, I was worshipping photographs because my wife was not following the principles properly. So these are some top of my mind recommendations.
What the essence, Prabhuji? It's not like we bring deities and serve and then we improve our quality of devotion. It is actually we need to improve our quality of devotion first, and then we can develop the right mood to serve the deities. This is what I'm understanding.
Yes, then deity worship will give you results. Then you will develop love of God.
Thank you, Prabhuji.
So we stop here today. Thank you very much, everyone. Hare Krishna. Srila Prabhupada ki jai.
Hare Krishna Prabhuji, Dandavat Pranam.
Hare Krishna. Thank you, Prabhuji.
Hare Krishna Prabhuji, thank you.
Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.
Thank you, Prabhu. Dandavat Pranam. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna. Thank you.
Hare Krishna, Prabhu. Dandavat Pranam.
Hare Krishna. Dandavat Pranam, Prabhu. Hare Hare. Yeah. Take care, Prabhu. Hari Bol.
You too, Prabhuji. Hare Krishna.
हाँ, एक मुझे पूछना था प्रभु जी,
हाँ, प्रभु जी।
ये हिंदी का क्लास कभी कभी होता है ना प्रभु जी का, तो रिकॉर्ड नहीं कर पाते हैं, तो क्या प्रॉब्लम कर सकता है? सैटरडे संडे
नहीं, वो एक्चुअली पिछला संडे मेरा मिस हुआ। मेरा वो फिजियोथेरेपी चल रहा था उस टाइम पे, तो मुझे ध्यान नहीं में नहीं रहा। बट हम लोग एक मिनट,